Hello and welcome to Brands Hatch for the opening rounds of the 2019 BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Series. The cars are about to line up on the grid ahead of our first of three 20-minute encounters here on the 1.2-mile Brands Hatch Indy circuit. James Kell and Simon Fleet line up on the front row for race one, with Sam Bailey and Javier Brook on the second row. Joseph Marshall-Burks with Alex Miller on row three, whilst Bradley Kent and Jeremy Crook share the fourth row of the grid. Rounding out the top 10 are Declan Lee and Clyde Powells ahead of Chris Webster and Matt Pickford. George Grant and Dale Crowsley are next, then Jake Swan-Dixon and Jim Hart on the eighth row. Cameron Thompson, Darren Kell, Russ Lindsay, Liz Walton and Jude Worley round out the 21-car grid. Great to see so many drivers coming and competing in this first round of the championship. The MX-5 Super Series going into its second season this year. It is not a championship, there are no points to worry about, just three good, hard races, and the racing does tend to be very, very good indeed. So the Mark III MX-5s line up on the grid, awaiting the start of the opening race of the season, which gets underway now. Lights out, away we go, and who gets the best start? Down towards Paddock Hill Bend, James Kell and Simon Fleet shared the front row. James Kell, who really improved towards the end of last year, started on pole, and he will lead into turn one, and Sam Bailey's up the inside there for second place, but he's sideways. Sam Bailey spins in front of the pack. Oh no, he's collected by one car, two cars, three cars pile on in. What a shame for Sam Bailey. We ride on board here with the number 11 car of Declan Lee, who's going to find a spinning Sam Bailey right in front of him. That's a big old hit for Declan, making his debut in the series, and sadly not the way he wanted his first race to get underway. The field, though, what remains of it, is making its way through Graham Hill Bend. There's a puncture there for car number 70, Javier Brook. That's a shame, because he started fourth on the grid, and unsurprisingly, the red flag is out, and, well, that is a shame. It's not how we wanted the season to start here at Brands Hatch, but unfortunately cold tyres. It's fairly chilly here this morning at Brands Hatch, and I think the low temperatures, the low track temperatures and ambient temperatures mean that on cold tyres Sam Bailey spun, and unfortunately the rest of the field had absolutely nowhere to go. Well, take two for the opening round of the MX-5 Super Series then here at Brands Hatch. James Kell and Simon Fleet once again start from row number one. It was Kell that led on the initial start. Will it be the same case this time? Well, no, Simon Fleet actually gets a better start than him on this occasion. Good start also made there by Jeremy Crook, that was, from the outside of what should have been row four, with a few cars missing in front of him. He'll actually be third into the first corner. Now, hold your breath. Let's hope everyone gets through cleanly this time. So far, so good. But it's meant us down in the bottom of the dip there, where the stricken car of Sam Bailey came to rest, but they are all safely through this time. There's Matt Pickford in the distinctive liveried yellow sort of take on the Martini car there on the outside line, and we make our way now back towards the end of the first lap of the race, and James Kell leading the way. James, who really improved his pace towards the second half of last year, competing in both Super Series and Super Cup, and had some really, really good pace at the season finale for the Super Series at Donington Park last year. This year, he's actually making the step up into the Ginetta GT4 Super Cup, supporting the British Touring Car Championship, and he's using this as a bit of practice ahead of their opening round, which takes place on the same circuit in a few weeks' time. Hopefully, we can tempt James back for a few more races in Super Series this year. He has been the class of the field so far this weekend, setting pole position by 0.3 of a second over Simon Fleet. Simon running well in second place as well. Now, there's lots of battling going on here. This is Bradley Kent in the white and orange number 44 car, and Joseph Marshall-Burks in the number 99 car trying to go around the outside. Now, Marshall-Burks started fifth, whilst Bradley Kent was seventh. They're now fourth and third, respectively, with other people's issues, but Kent on for a podium here in his second season of MX-5 racing. Competed in the Super Cup last year, and had a trying debut season, I think it's fair to say. A trying opening race of the season as well there for one car which runs out wide. Chris Webster, I think that was, the number 85, that went trawling through the gravel trap and clearways. George Grant up a place, Matt Pickford down a place, but I think the battle's likely to resume. They seem fairly evenly matched on pace, it must be said. And indeed, in qualifying, they were separated by just a few hundredths of a second. Half a tenth of a second separated them in qualifying. Pickford qualified 12th and Grant 13th. And in fact now the 85 car of Chris Webster joining in the fun as well after his gravelly moment earlier on. So three cars now fighting away for sixth place, and Pickford, by virtue of going in on the tight line into Paddock Hill Bend, ends up running a little bit wide on the exit, and so Webster seizes the chance to dive up the inside on the run up Halewood Hill. And because it is such a steep uphill run to Druids, if you are slow off paddock, it's compounded all the way up the hill. There's really very little Pickford could do there, so time to regroup, I think, from that in the 16 car, the sort of Martini-inspired livery. to see whether he can get past the Burgundy car in front of Chris Webster and then go after George Grant. George is trying to set sail and pull away from this lot if at all possible and go after the top 5, who are not a million miles in front of him. Jeremy Crook is his next target, a few seconds up the road. But I don't think Chris Webster's going to let him go. Chris has got good pace here, just had a couple of little moments, little mistakes. And he's clearly got good speed. He's got really good speed in the slipstream. Look at that. You can really see the slipstream effect there across the start-finish line. He goes to the outside of George Grant into Paddock Hill Bend. George has the defensive inside line covered though, and I think will hold on to the position. This is the fight for second place. Simon Fleet versus Joseph Marshall-Burks. Fleet has been very, very comfortably in second place all race long, really, but Marshall-Burks has been slowly reeling him in, a tenth of a second here and there, and he's now right on the tail of another one of the more distinctively liveried cars, the traditional blue with the iconic pink wheels of Simon Fleet's number 21 machine. Joseph Marshall-Burks' car, they're very well prepared as well, very well turned out. I think they're about to put another lap on Jude Worley. Yes, they are. Jude is very good at noticing when the leaders are coming up behind her and staying out of the way, so I'm sure she will dutifully do so when they get there, which is likely to be very soon. Yep, there they go, up the inside of Paddock, and she moves well out of the way. So Simon Fleet goes through in second, Marshall-Burks goes through in third, and they're some way ahead now of the Jeremy Crook and Clive Powell's battle for fourth. I believe it's Clive ahead of Jeremy still at the moment. Down the hill, on the brakes. New tarmac runoff area on the exit of Druids and just there on the exit of Graham Hill Bend, but they've still got the MSV track limit sensors there. If you run out over them, it triggers an automatic, almost like a speed camera sort of thing, except it's a track limits camera, and it picks up the cars, takes a picture of them, which gets fired straight to the clerk, of course, and then when you go and try and argue your case after the race and say, no sir, I didn't exceed the track limits, there's photographic evidence to suggest that you did. James Kell, though, I'm sure, hasn't really had to push that hard that he's been exceeding track limits in this race. It's going to be a fairly comfortable victory in Mazda MX-5 racing terms, at least for James Kell. And this is the perfect practice for his Ginetta GT4 Super Cup debut in a few weeks' time. It really has been a meteoric rise from, I think he'd say himself, sort of, I don't like using the word mediocre to describe a racing driver, but, you know, he was a midfield runner when he first started racing last year and really plugged away hard, did James. And I only use the term mediocre because it is in complete contrast to how quick he is these days. He's one of the quickest drivers out there. I think he's destined for great things, and over such a short, relatively short period of time as well, that he's suddenly found some pace. And here he is now looking for what I believe will be his first ever victory in a Mazda MX-5, and what a time to do it then. The opening race of the MX-5 Super Series season is won by James Kell, a dominant drive here at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. He takes the victory. Simon Fleet will come home second, but only just from Joseph Marshall-Burks, less than 2 tenths behind him at the flag. And Clive Powell's, I think, will come home in fourth. Yep, there he goes, the silver car in fourth place, with Jeremy Crook hanging on to fifth position. Yep, just going past Jude Worley at the line. So it is James Kell who takes the opening race victory of the season, winning by just under 4 seconds over Simon Fleet, Joseph Marshall-Burks, Clive Powell's and Jeremy Crook. Matt Pickford was next, ahead of George Grant, Chris Webster, Dale Crowsley and Cameron Thompson. Then it was Russ Lindsay, Alex Miller, Xavier Brook, Darren Kell and Liz Walton rounding out the top 15. We lost, unfortunately, Bradley Kent, Declan Lee and Sam Bailey were the two involved, or that didn't resume from the red flag incident on the initial attempt to start the race. Hopefully they'll get their cars sorted out for race 2 though, because they should be able to make progress from the back of the grid.
James, a huge congratulations. That was your first ever win. Yeah, it's really enjoyable. It was a nice drive, so yeah, nice weather and great prep car, so what can I say, really? Well, obviously you left the last season in the Super Series coming second at Donington, and you've stepped it up a bit. You started on pole, finished on pole. Must be a good feeling. Yeah, it's always good. I mean, the aim was to try and get on pole this weekend. We had good pace in testing, so just to try and carry that through to qualifying, and new tyres bumped us up a few tenths, so it was, yeah, it was really nice. Race 2 is about to get underway here for the Super Series, and with another full grid, it's going to be full action. Weather conditions are a bit brighter, so it's perfect conditions, so no excuses from the drivers today. So we're going to hand it straight over to Andy to run you through all the action.
Thanks, Lindsay. Cars grinning up now then in the order in which they finished yesterday's race. So it is James Keller and Simon Fleet on row 1 with Joseph Marshall-Burks and Clive Powells on the second row together. Jeremy Crook and Matt Pickford are next with George Grant and Chris Webster rounding out the top 8 on the grid. Row number 5 for Dale Crowsley and Cameron Thompson ahead of Russ Lindsay and Alex Miller. Xavier Brook looking for a better start this time. He's got Darren Kell for company ahead of Liz Walton and Jim Hart. Jude Worley is 17th, then the 4 retirements from yesterday. Jake Swan-Dixon, Bradley Kent, Declan Lee and Sam Bailey in a different car today, with Nathan Heathcote tagging along at the back of the field. Didn't race yesterday, but Nathan is out trying to get some signatures on his licence. He is the 2017 British Rallycross champion, so he ought to be one to watch from the back of the grid. The red lights are on, they go out now, and we are away and racing in the spring sunshine at Brands Hatch. And who is going to lead into turn 1? It's another good start by Simon Fleet on the outside line at Paddock Hill Bend. Is he going to be able to keep his nose in front? No, he can't. There's contact though. Matt Pickford is around. We've got the 85 car off of Chris Webster as well, and someone else off the number 5 car going through the gravel of Cameron Thompson. There's another spinner, which I fear might possibly have been Clive Powells. We'll have to pick that one up in a minute, but it was carnage again, I'm afraid, at Paddock Hill Bend, just like we saw in the first race. However, unlike in the first race, there will be no red flag. This time it's just the safety car that gets called for. Again, not an ideal start to the day. Bradley Kent, unfortunately, who can't buy any luck. He was running well in race 1, had a mechanical issue. That meant that he retired, started this one from the back, and gets caught up in the contact as well. He's got damage. Leaders, though, some of them seeing the safety car boards a bit earlier than others. There is Matt Pickford's car. And it looks as though he had the contact from somebody. Didn't quite see who got up the inside, actually, but I believe it may have been Clive Powells, because they started nose to tail on the grid with Powells in front. Pickford, I think, got a good start, went round the outside, and then the two of them made contact. Into clearways, Marshall-Burks fending off Simon Fleet for now, but this is a real treat to see Simon this close to the front of the field. Out onto the main straight they go once again. Simon, I don't think, he had one podium, had one third place finish last year, so second is already on for his best ever result in a Mazda. Can he get a race victory though, a debut race victory, and what a race to do it in as well. It's been a race full of drama. It's one they'll be talking about for quite some time, I'm sure. Simon certainly will be if he can get himself onto the top step of the podium. Even if he can get second place, though, I think that Simon will be beaming from ear to ear. Another driver who really loves his racing and just wants to get better and have more fun every time he goes out onto the circuit. I'm sure he's enjoying this battle here with Marshall-Burks, so again, it's a bit scruffy through Graham Hill Bend, albeit didn't lose quite as much time on that occasion. Doesn't feel the need to defend at Surtees. Simon Fleet certainly in his wheel tracks, applying the pressure, and Marshall-Burks has already made a couple of little mistakes. And there's another one there, look a bit wide of the apex at clearways. That will be exactly what Simon Fleet wants to see, because that means he could possibly force him into an even bigger mistake and nip through into the race lead. There's Sam Bailey though, look, and he is getting a bit closer, and he is bringing others with him. That's Bradley Kent now back behind him, though, ahead of Nathan Heathcote. I'm not sure which order the two blue and orange cars are in now. Across the line comes Clive Powells, and that car is still running okay, despite the couple of bits of contact it's had in this race. And it's the 55 car behind, applying the pressure, trying to find a way through. Hill, back up the other side again, and there is Darren Kell with Dale Crowsley, who's slipped a bit further down the order than he'd like in this race. Left-hander at Graham Hill Bend they go. Sorry, 66, not 55, the number on the car behind. And that is Jake Swan-Dixon. First round of the season, it always is tricky keeping up with all the changes of livery and new drivers and new cars that have appeared over the winter, but it's great to see so many new cars. When you think about where we were 12 months ago here at this meeting, where we were barely into double figures for the opening Super Series race, and now look at it, big grids, close competition, fantastic stuff. This is the final lap, though, of what has been a slightly shortened second race because of the red flag earlier on, and Joseph Marshall-Burks has Simon Fleet still breathing down his neck. I don't think Sam Bailey is going to quite be able to close in on them, but there he is, not that far back, with it is Bradley Kent in fourth and Nathan Heathcote fifth. But if these two if there'd been another lap or so and these two had maybe been a bit closer together and sort of forcing each other to race side by side and to drive defensively, I think the others would have got there. They're just going to run short of time, I think. There's Bailey, with Bradley Kent behind him, and Heathcote a little way further back now, actually in 5th position. But up towards the final corner we go then. Joseph Marshall-Burke's about to take his first ever victory in the Mazda MX-5 Super Series, and it will be 2 different winners from the first 2 races of the season. James Kell was on for the double, made the mistake, went into the barriers, brought out the red flag, and that has opened the door for Joseph Marshall-Burke, who wins race number 2 here at Brands Hatch. Simon Fleet in 2nd place, and 3rd place across the line is Sam Bailey. You know, he was only a second and a half off the lead at the end of the race. So Marshall-Burke, Simon Fleet and Sam Bailey, your top 3 then. Bradley Kent and Nathan Heathcote from the back of the grid into 5th. George Grant, Alex Miller, Clive Powell, Jake Swan-Dixon and Darren Kell round out the top 10 ahead of Dale Crowsley. Russ Lindsay, Javier Brook, Cameron Thompson, Liz Walton and Jude Worley. Jeremy Crook, Declan Lee, Chris Webster, Jim Hart, Matt Pickford and James Kell, all non-finishers. Unfortunately, 6 drivers who did not get to the end of the race, whilst the fastest lap was set by Bradley Kent on his way to a 4th place finish. A great race though, and a great victory for Joseph Marshall-Burke.
Joe, that's an overwhelming result for you.
Oh, I'm absolutely buzzing with it. You know, it's my first time here as well. I wasn't expecting this, to be honest, but well happy with it.
You had a lot of pressure though from Simon. He was keeping you true there.
Yeah, I did, to be fair. But I kept calm, you know. I stick to the track, so I did all right.
By all means, it means you now have to start on pole for the next one.
Yeah, I know, that's the bad thing, really. I mean, it's supposed to be a good thing, isn't it? But I first start a bit backwards and work the way through. Instead of starting on pole, but we'll see how we go.
Well, we wish you the best of luck and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
3rd and final race here for the Super Series, and the sun is now starting to set. But man of the moment is Joe Marshall. Joe, this is your first weekend with us, but you've come away with a 3rd and a 1st.
I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. So come here with just a top 5, hopefully, and then got on the podium yesterday, and then 1st today. Buzzing, dead excited, yeah.
So obviously you just need to get a good start off the line here.
Yeah, because we've got some quick lads behind me, so we get a good start and hopefully carry the line through. We should be able to bring it home, hopefully.
Brilliant. Well, we wish you the best of luck.
Cheers,
well done. Right, we're going to hand it straight over to Andy for all of the action.
Well, we've had 2 cracking races already here at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. What does race 3 have in store for us? It's another grid based on the result from the previous race. So Marshall-Burke and Fleet on row 1, with Sam Bailey and Bradley Kent on row 2. Nathan Heathcote and George Grant are next, ahead of Alex Miller and Clive Powell's on the 4th row. Jake Swan-Dixon is next, ahead of Darren Kell. Then Dale Crowsley and Russ Lindsay, Javier Brook, Cameron Thompson, then Liz Walton and Jude Worley towards the back of the field. Then we have those that had issues in the previous race: Jeremy Crook, Declan Lee, Chris Webster, Jim Hart, Matt Pickford and James Kell. Possibly not all of those cars will be there. I'm pretty sure James Kell is not taking the start. I can see Matt Pickford and Jim Hart. There's actually, that might be the only car that's missing, with James Kell's car fairly badly damaged after its race to shunt. So for the final time this weekend at Brands Hatch, we're about to go racing in the MX-5 Super Series. Lights out, away we go. Good start made by Sam Bailey. I noticed, look at that start from Dale Crowsley, carving his way through the pack from outside the top 10. He's made up 3 or 4 positions before we even reach Paddock Hill Bend. Now let's see if they all get through in one piece this time. There's a few sideways moments. Look at that, there's no one in the gravel, there's no one pointing the wrong way. What's going on? Up towards Druids we go again, and well, hang on, there's still time for it all to kick off. Lots of locking up, lots of sliding out wide, but no contact this time around, so maybe a few words have been had in the paddock between races. Not a good start for Simon Fleet this time. Ironically, he's been making the really good starts so far this weekend. The blue and pink car that finished 2nd in yesterday's race, therefore started 2nd for this one, is down to 4th as they head through Surtees for the first time. More with Bradley Kent. He is behind Simon Fleet, in fact, in 5th place. To the outside, there's no way through there. Through clearways, it's all going on in front of them. Look at that, it's almost 3 abreast for the race lead, as I think Sam Bailey got a bit held up behind the race leader, Joseph Marshall-Burke. And is that Nathan Heathcote going through? Yes, it is. Nathan Heathcote up the inside line, and he's into 2nd place. So at the end of lap 1, it's Marshall-Burke that leads the way. It's Heathcote in 2nd, Sam Bailey in 3rd, and Heathcote going for the race lead. Look at that, from 3rd to 2nd to 1st in the course of, well, a corner and a half, really. Did he complete the manoeuvre? Yes, he did. Nathan Heathcote into the lead with some fantastic overtaking. He's sideways into Druids, but as a former British Rallycross champion, that will not faze him in the slightest. And Nathan Heathcote now trying to set sail and pull away from the rest of the pack. 2nd place for Marshall-Burke, 3rd is Sam Bailey, 4th for Bradley Kent, and then 5th place for Simon Fleet as they Go back down the Cooper Straight on board with Alex Miller. He's in 6th, so Bradley Kent somewhere has got past Simon Fleet, and now it's Alex Miller, the next man that's got Fleet in his sights. Ahead of us, Sam Bailey going up the inside of Joseph Marshall-Burks in the distance for 2nd place. There may have been contact there because Marshall-Burks is in the gravel trap and sliding back into the middle of the road, and Alex Miller, really quick reactions there to avoid running into him. Simon Fleet likewise did a good job to avoid him, and that's not the first time we've seen cars going off at clearways and then rejoining in slightly spectacular fashion. Wheel banging there between Clyde Powell's and Russ Lindsay, and Powell's will go through on the inside of Paddock Hill Bend. Javier Brook tries to launch a surprise attack as well, and it might just work actually. Russ Lindsay a bit quicker on the exit of the corner, but we'll have the outside line for Druids. So what does that mean for the race order? Well, Heathcote is escaping, Sam Bailey's into 2nd, Bradley Kent 3rd, then Fleet 4th, and Alex Miller is now into 5th position. They are the 4 cars, the last 4 that I mentioned, that are fighting for 2nd place at the moment, but I'm intrigued to see whether Sam Bailey has the pace to chase down Nathan Heathcote, because in race 2 they both started on the back row of the grid. Bailey got to 3rd and Heathcote got to 5th, but of course that was Heathcote's first ever race in a Mazda MX-5. Sam Bailey has quite a lot of experience, and Sam Bailey unfortunately having one of those weekends here at Brands Hatch where nothing really seems to be working. Pickford there in the blue and white car, getting away now slightly from Dale Crowsley and Jeremy Crook. So he's bought himself a little bit of breathing room. As I say that though, Crowsley does his best to prove me wrong and closes back in again. Graham Hill, Crowsley slightly wider, just half a car's width wider on the entry, and that just gives him a slightly better exit speed. And he's right with Russ Lindsay. You work with fractions and millimetres in motorsport, and it's so hard to do at these speeds, but if you're on a slightly more optimal line through the corner, it can really reap the wards on the exit. Lindsay throwing it sideways. Maybe the tactic here is that if you drive sideways around the whole circuit, then no one's going to be able to get past you because you're filling more of the road. I don't know. Certainly lots of sideways action at clearways in this race. On to the final lap of the race though, and it's looking good for Nathan Heathcote at the head of the field. Bradley Kent though, I can tell you, has been closing in on Nathan in recent laps. I don't think he's quite going to have the time to get there, but Nathan Heathcote, your race leader, can he take a victory in his debut in the series, excuse me? Whether he's back again later this year awaits to be seen. More than likely not. This was just a signature exercise, but nonetheless, Nathan Heathcote has driven really, really impressively in the 2 races today. Didn't race yesterday in race 1, but to come from the back of the grid to finish 5th in race 1 was impressive enough. And now he is going to take the checkered flag in race 2, but only just. Look at that, Bradley Kent right with him at the flag, but it is Heathcote that wins. Kent 2nd, Fleet 3rd, and in 4th position, Joseph Marshall-Burks. The top 4 covered by just 1.4 seconds at the flag. Alex Miller is 5th, Javier Brook is 6th, then Russ Lindsay, Jeremy Crook, Dale Crowsley, and Jake Swan-Dixon gets himself his 2nd top 10 finish of the day. George Grant is next ahead of Sam Bailey, 12th, Matt Pickford, Darren Kell, Clyde Powell's round out the top 15. Liz Walton a non-finisher, whilst Declan Lee, Chris Webster and James Kell failed to finish. Well, it's been a great opening weekend here at Brands Hatch. 3 different winners from 3 races, lots to talk about, and Nathan Heathcote, a really, really impressive race victory. Watch for big things from him this year.
The sun was setting on that final race of the weekend, but you got a podium.
Yeah, it's great. First podium, and especially to be at my home track as well. It's lovely, so good.
That seemed like it was keeping you true out there.
Yeah, all the boys were, to be fair. It was on my tower every now and again, and was catching the leader, so it was good. A few more laps, I think it would have been a 3-way battle for the lead, so it's good, really good, yeah.
So next time, are you going to be pushing for first?
Hope so. Out in the Super Cup next time, so hopefully we'll do the same thing, but yeah, there's a few fast boys out in that, so you never know, do you?
Well done from us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.